Back on the podcast, very, very newsy week, obviously, with the start of free agency in the National Football League. And at the center of the storm this week was Drew Rosenhaus, the agent for so many NFL players. And just to preface this chat with Drew, what was so interesting is that I went into this free agent signing period with a totally conservative view of how I thought it would go, because teams had 1/3 the amount of cap space compared to last year. Last year, there were 30 deals struck on the first day of this so-called legal tampering period. And I thought that there would be far fewer. There are actually more. So let's bring in Drew Rosenhaus. And Drew, you said that there would be a lot of deals done. You said that teams would get imaginative. What did you know that most people didn't Sunday, Monday of this week?
It's just experience, Peter. This my 33rd year dealing with free agency in some form or fashion, and I understand how competitive teams are, and clubs want to win. And when they see good football players, they're going to find a way to get them. And if it means doing voidable years, if it means finding ways to get deals done with incentives that don't count against the cap, if it means restructuring their own players' contracts. Tampa Bay is a great example. They found a way to bring back our client Shaq Barrett. A big part of that was extending Tom Brady's deal. They found a way to bring back our client Rob Gronkowski. And we did some voidable deals for Rob. Rob's basically a one-year deal, but we did some voidable years there, so they could spread out his contract over a period of 4 years instead of one. I take my hat off to teams like Tampa that didn't have a tremendous amount of cap room and were creative. And then the other teams like New England, for example, we were able to get a lot of work done. We got deals done for Jonnu Smith, for Trent Brown is an upcoming trade this week. We were able to get deals done for Devon Godchow, Jalen Mills. And the Patriots had cap room, and they were aggressive, and they took advantage of that. Their wealth of cap room, they really took advantage of that.
Drew, you know Bill Belichick very, very well. What do you think led to the Patriots being so active this week?
They had the money out there, and they were hungry. I mean, I just got the sense that Coach Belichick was hungry. I got the feeling that last year didn't sit very well with them. I got the feeling they weren't content missing the playoffs, and I got the sense that they were going to do a lot to improve their football team. And they were able to do things that other teams couldn't do. And one thing about Belichick, I mean, besides being a great coach, he's also, I think, an outstanding talent evaluator and a great NFL executive. So I think it's scary to give a outstanding coach like that tons of cap room that most teams don't have. And I think the Patriots are going to be a very dangerous team this year.
But he's had cap room before, and he's never done he's never done what he did this week. I mean, he has signed players before, but usually after the initial storm passes. Do you think it was all because they had a lousy year last year?
I believe so. And again, because they had an advantage this year that most teams didn't have. They had the room. They have a great owner in Robert Kraft. He's got the cash. They've always been a team that's been able to get deals done and been aggressive when they've wanted to be. And they just, from my standpoint, they took advantage of an edge that they had. I think we all agree that Belichick is very good at taking advantage of opportunities, and he did this year. He knew there were a lot of teams that didn't have cap room and wouldn't have the ability to go out and add great football players, and he did the exact opposite. He went and did that. He went and improved his football team by leaps and bounds. I think everybody would agree this roster is incredibly improved from the one that they ended the season with.
There's no question about it, especially at the skill positions. I mean, I think at the end of 2019, Tom Brady had a hard time winning with the skill position players that were lining up there. And last year, Cam Newton saw that too. And now the two best tight ends in the market, two good wide receivers, out of this. I'm just curious, in the last couple of days, as we record this on Tuesday afternoon, in the last couple of days, what was Bill Belichick like when you dealt with him? Did you deal with him directly, or were you dealing with personnel people?
Well, I just started dealing with him yesterday at noon. And those are the rules. You can't talk to the teams about free agents. But he did get permission from the Raiders to talk to me about Trent Brown. So we're able to talk about that. But we really didn't start talking about Jonnu Smith or Devon Godchow or Jalen Mills until yesterday afternoon. We got the call at shortly after 12 o'clock, and we went to work. But I do deal directly with Coach Belichick, and I always have. And he's had some great guys working with him over the decades that I've dealt with, like Scott Pioli and Nick Caserio and Mike Lombardi, among many others. But in this particular round of negotiations, I dealt with Coach Belichick, and it's an advantage, I think, for me that I've dealt with him I've been negotiating contracts with him since he was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and we were working on deals then. So we're able to, we know each other well, and really it's been productive. I think I've signed more clients with the Patriots over the years than any other agent has.
Tell me what he's like to deal with.
Excellent. Kind of cuts to the chase. You're obviously dealing with a future Hall of Famer and probably the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. So you have a lot of reverence for him, but he certainly is respectful, and I think he's a misunderstood personality. Anybody that has gotten to know him as well as I have, I think would agree with me that he can be very engaging and very likable. So my dealings with him are always very positive. I like dealing with decision makers. A lot of the teams you deal with team negotiators, and they're not the decision makers, and that's tough because you can't make the deal with them. What I really like about dealing with Bill Belichick above everything else is the fact that he is the decision maker from my estimation, and I like that. I like the ability, if you agree with him, you get a deal done. You don't have to go back to another person, and that's great.
Let's talk about the Jonnu Smith deal. Was it your idea when you went to him with the 4-year proposal? Was there a lot of give and take on that? Or did you present the structure and then begin to discuss it with Bill?
Lot of give and take, a lot of back and forth, a lot of negotiations. You're always in store for a battle when you're dealing with Coach Belichick. And he's a very outstanding negotiator, and certainly you're going to go back and forth quite a bit before you can get him to agree to a deal, even for a coveted player like Jonnu, which had multiple teams interested in him. And, you're always very fortunate as an agent when you have free agency begin and there's 3 or 4 teams that really want your clients. The toughest negotiations are really the ones where you're dealing with one team for your player, and that gives them a lot of leverage, quite frankly. When you have more than one team, then you've got the leverage.
Describe what it was early on in that first hour or so. What was it like for you? Did you first engage with the Patriots on Jonnu? And how did you work the other teams in there as it was going on?
Yeah, so obviously I've been spending a lot of the day working on behalf of a lot of our clients who were extension candidates. So we could talk to Tampa for Shaq Barrett. We could talk to Green Bay for Aaron Jones. We could talk to Tampa about Rob Gronkowski. So a lot
to make it clear, you could do that before 12 o'clock because those players are belong to those teams at that time.
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
The second part of the answer is once noon began, it was really hectic. Our phone was ringing off the hook, not just for Jonnu, but for a lot of the other players that we had in free agency and continue to have right now. And it's really, it's wild. It's a wild scene. I've got my brother Jason in here, two of my other partners, Robert Bailey and Ryan Matha. And if I can't get to a team, I have them call them and line them up for me. And really, it's very active early on. We have a lot of great clients, and I can't remember the last time I didn't have the start of free agency where it wasn't hectic. And this year was no different, thankfully. I think there were a lot of people out there that were predicting a lot of gloom and doom, and it hasn't come out that way. I don't notice much of a difference so far in this free agent period. We're a little over 24 hours during the negotiating period. It feels the same to me as it did last year, the year before that. Maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't. But, I'm certainly excited with the way things have been going so far in the NFL. Seems to be a quick pace, solid deals around the league. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of salary cap withdrawal so far.
You told me over the weekend, this is a year when we as agents have to be brutally honest with our clients. Yet I sense that most of your clients, especially that you signed on Tuesday or on Monday of this week, or you made agreements with on Monday, really didn't have to look at sort of a lesser value. They got sort of traditional NFL free agency value. Is that right?
That is right, Peter. And the tough conversations will be coming today and tomorrow and the days after that when that first wave is still ongoing. But when that first wave ends, you're going to have to be able to evaluate for your clients, is now the optimal time to get a deal done? Do we benefit by waiting? I don't think anybody agrees in free agency that it behooves you, once the wave is done, to wait. I just haven't seen that work out for very many guys, unless you're an elite player like a Jadeveon Clowney, who, last couple of years has taken his time in signing. But most guys aren't in that position. So I will be aggressive in talking to our clients to encourage them to make tough decisions, to take the very best deals that we can, even if it's not exactly what we projected or what we think is fair for them.
I want to ask you one other thing about Jonnu Smith. He has developed into one of the best tight ends in football, and yet coming into this signing period, there are a lot of football people who liked him a lot, but was there any question in your mind that he was going to get in the 11, 12, $13 million range? Did you have some doubts about where he'd end up?
I was very excited about Jonnu, very excited about Shaq, very excited about Aaron Jones, very excited about the guys that we signed yesterday, because I knew that those were players that were coveted. So with Jonnu, I really was optimistic. I've been very fortunate to work with some great tight ends over my career, like Gronkowski and Greg Olsen and Jeremy Shockey and Benjamin Watson and so many other great ones over the years. That David Njoku is one of our clients, who's a terrific young tight end in the NFL. Tight end is a bit of a specialty for me. Over the last couple of decades, have negotiated some of the bigger deals there. And so I had a feeling that we certainly had a special one in Jonnu.
Drew, let's end with this. What's the moral of the story in free agency in 2021?
So far, so good. So far, what salary cap doldrums? So far, a lot of action, impressive deals across the board. I feel like there's a ton of players out there, obviously, because of all the players that got released. It's a deep group, but it's good to see a lot of guys signing and teams spending money, and I'm confident that will continue.
Drew Rosenhaus, thanks so much for summing up what's been a fairly insane first day and a half of free agency.
My pleasure. Always great to be with you, Peter. Take care.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.